Welcome back, everyone, to the Stay Introverted podcast. I am your co-host, Jay Coleman,
And I'm your other co-host, Steph.
and as always, thank you for tuning in, chiming in on this introvert journey that we have here going. Totally messed up that intro, but it's all right. I'm gonna roll through it. It's Monday, so I'm allowed one screw up. But how you doing, Steph?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited because we have a very special guest today, and I don't want
Me
to
too.
don't want to delay it any longer. So I'd like to introduce our guest, Miss Rheanna Nutter. Hope I said that correctly. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I appreciate you guys sending out the invitation to join you.
Absolutely. So we actually connected on Threads and we had a great conversation there. So I was just like, I have to get this girl on the podcast. I need to know her story. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. I love that we connected on Threads. I feel like it's such a great place for deeper and more genuine connections, and it's really put me in connection with so many amazing people, such as yourselves.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's such a great platform. I feel like everybody there is so chill, just open to conversation, which is totally my vibe. So I love it there.
Yeah,
Me
I'm
too.
still kind of making my way in the Threads landscape, but I'll get there.
Don't worry, I got us covered. You handle TikTok, I got that. We
Fair
good.
enough. Fair enough. Yeah, like I'm on. I someone on Threads maybe like once a week, so I gotta do that. I gotta do better.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you got TikTok. As long as I don't have to go on TikTok, you don't have to go on that. We're good.
Fair
And I
enough.
feel like Threads is a great place for introverts to hang out because
Oh, totally.
it's kind of you pop in when you want to, you be your authentic self, and then you pop out.
Nice.
Absolutely. So I guess before we even get into the conversation, will you just kind of introduce yourself and tell the audience, what you do, what you're excited about, tell us all the things.
All the things. Well, I'm Rheanna, aka the Chronic CEO on all of my social media platforms. I was I started this business because I struggled multiple chronic illnesses. Some of them are diagnosed, some are still in the process of being diagnosed, and I was in a corporate career that I worked very hard for, in a very male-dominated industry to kind of get to where I was at. And after 20 years of, beating myself up in the corporate world and just feeling like I finally make it, cue a terrible chronic illness, gastroparesis, which is a paralyzed stomach, and I couldn't work anymore. And so I had to leave that job. And as a chronic high achiever, I was like, okay, well, what now? And it was a struggle and a big emotional roller coaster. It was a physical roller coaster, all the things. And I knew I wanted to do something on my own as an entrepreneur. I started with a creative business that it was super successful, but from a physical being able to keep up standpoint, it completely flopped. And I went back to my roots with corporate and doing processes and systems and marketing and started helping female entrepreneurs to grow their business. And I did that for a few years, and it just really took me a long time to kind of find my groove and figure out how to manage my chronic illness without putting myself into a constant state of flare-ups and still run and grow a successful business at the same time. And there was a lot of lessons learned in that process. And it wasn't until last year I was working with another entrepreneur that also had multiple chronic illnesses. And it just kind of clicked. I was like, why am I not doing this for more people? We're such an underserved population of entrepreneurs. And that's kind of where the Chronic CEO was born. And then from that, just deciding how I wanted to structure my business professionally in a way that would honor my physical, mental, and emotional needs as somebody with chronic illness, but still be able to connect with people and to help them learn the methods that it took me forever to learn on my own so they could grow their business. And So that's where I came up with the Chronic Success Society and the membership platform and all of that. And now here we are.
That's amazing.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, I feel like they always say you end up kind of serving versions of yourself when you build a business. So
Absolutely.
I love that you've found that like that group and that community to be able to help them the same way that you helped yourself.
Thank you. It's very exciting. I've never felt so aligned with something professionally ever in my entire life. So it's been great.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So are you like as you're working with your clients, are you like how exactly are you supporting them? Like what are you teaching them how to build their own business or more so like how to support themselves in their entrepreneurship journey or a little bit of both?
All the things, really. I
Mm-hmm.
provide them with tools and resources so they get off the Google train because we all know how exhausting it can be to learn a new skill or, for instance, learn how to create a business plan. That takes a lot of, different Google searches and sites, and you get into these rabbit holes, and then ADHD kicks in, and next thing you know, you're doing something completely different. So I just wanted to provide a lot of tools and resources that they could come in and quickly and easily grab, but also keeping in mind that when you have a chronic illness, you lack energy and you lack a lot of the emotional and mental resources that somebody without chronic illness might have. And so just keeping that in mind when I create resources and provide tools to them, but also, popping in to do one-on-one coaching and just figuring out how to support them where they're at. And it could be somebody that's dreaming of doing a business, but hasn't quite taken that leap, either out of fear that their chronic illness is going to hold them back, or from being what I like to say is extra introverted because you've got that chronic illness and it makes it, if you're struggling with introversion and then you have that on top of it, it can be extra scary to try to put yourself out there because not only are you facing putting yourself out there and that, the uncomfortableness of that alone, but then do I share my chronic illness? Do I not? What does that look like? So just helping people, meeting them where they're at in their entrepreneurial journey, and then helping to support them with the tools and resources necessary to be able to grow their business in a way that honors what they need.
Oh wow.
Awesome. You mentioned that it can be challenging. Not just dealing with a chronic illness, but also dealing with that on top of, or I guess in tandem with being an introvert. So, what are some of like the tools or uh, guidelines I guess you give your clients to kind of work through both of those things?
Yeah, I love that question. So I didn't realize up until a couple years ago that I am an extroverted introvert. Like I love being by myself and in my own bubble and being able to do my own thing. And it really took a lot of introspection to realize, oh my gosh, I am completely an introvert. And so one of the things that I had to recognize for myself is how can I put myself out there in a way that shares my gifts and shares my tools that also allows me to share some about my chronic illness so that other people are aware of what I'm dealing with and what I struggle with, but do it in a way that doesn't give me so much anxiety that I'm just hiding instead of, putting myself out there and doing the thing. And I learned that being vulnerable with other people that have a chronic illness and that get it first is a great first step before diving into the wide sea of being loud and proud in front of everybody else. And so that was really kind of a game changer for me because I knew I could share all the struggles that I had with my entrepreneurial journey with other people like me, and I wouldn't be judged for that. So that was kind of a great first step. And so when I talk to clients in the community about how do you become vulnerable with your chronic illness, but also just with yourself and your business and be able to put yourself out there in a way that brings clients into your business and entrepreneurial universe, start with the people that you're comfortable with first. It's always so much easier and we always feel like we're going to screw up. At least for me, I did. And so being able to screw up in front of people that I'm comfortable with is a lot easier. And then it's just kind of slowly working your way out of your comfort zone from there.
Wow, I've never heard somebody say it like that, and like I love that. Like I'm just thinking of my own journey of becoming more comfortable, and I feel like, I don't have a chronic illness, but like I put myself out there with introverts first, and that definitely did make me more comfortable. So I
Yeah.
love the way that you said that. Like it's just not something that I've ever like really thought about, So that's so helpful. And I like, wow, I could have skipped so much awkwardness and discomfort if I had heard that earlier.
Yeah. And, it's our brain's way of keeping us safe, right? We're
Yeah.
fearful of putting ourselves out there, and that's your brain's natural way of keeping you safe and comfortable. And so taking baby steps outside of that comfort zone, I feel like is always the best way to get yourself out there. Diving in might work for some people, but it didn't work for me. And I remember just, trying to go live on social media, or prior to starting the Chronic Success Society, trying to go live in other people's groups or even doing podcast interviews or anything like that.
Yeah.
I would just get shaky and
Mhm.
nervous, and what if they don't like me, or, what if they judge me, or what if they think that it's just absolutely crazy that I'm trying to run a business with a chronic illness, which some people do, whatever, that's their prerogative. And then also teaching myself how to not care what other people think. That's another really hard thing to do.
That is a very hard thing to do. Particularly as an introvert, sometimes we tend to overthink everything.
Oh,
So,
everything.
Yeah,
Overthinker is my superpower.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, that's another t-shirt idea.
Nope.
Yeah. My husband today was like, "Why do you keep overthinking like XYZ?" I'm like, that's my default. What are you talking about? Like, I'm an introvert. I overthink. Like, it's like you breathe. I overthink.
Yeah.
That's what
If
we do.
anything, they should find it weird that you're not overthinking.
Right. Like, you should be concerned if I'm not overthinking something, because that means the overthinking is coming tomorrow or later.
Yeah.
That means I'm gonna double up later.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So that's so cool that you were able to find just a way to take everything that you learned in your journey and help all of these people. So what would you say is like one of the most helpful tools that you have started to share with your community? Like, what have people found really useful that hasn't really been available to people with chronic illnesses in the entrepreneurial space?
Oh, I love that question. So one of the things that I did in the beginning of my journey that was so wrong is I'm like everybody else. I'm just going to go balls to the walls, and I'm going to do the things, and I'm going to handle them. And I don't, up until that point in my life, I didn't know how to do anything differently. Like, if I'm going to learn how to play tennis, I'm going to buy a racket. I'm going to buy the best balls. I'm going to buy 3 outfits. And so I use that mentality follows me through entrepreneurship and anything that I do in life. And so as I was kind of figuring out how to work as a chronically sick entrepreneur without throwing myself into a million flare-ups, which takes time away from my business, but also my personal life and my family, I found that tracking a lot of my health and wellness markers. So how much sleep am I getting? What is the quality of the sleep? What am I eating? What am I putting into my body? When am I having flare-ups? What time of day are they happening? What is my self-care routine? All of these things factor into your energy levels. And if you don't have energy, you can't work. And when I was going through, that phase of, okay, I really need to take a step back and look at where am I at with all these things. And then I started to see when my work was causing adverse effects on my health because I was tracking it all. And I noticed that on days when I was ignoring my body's signals, or I was ignoring the kind of anxiety that I get right before a flare-up comes on, or I was ignoring all of these other health markers, that it caused symptoms in other areas. And then if I'm not fueling my body properly, if I'm sitting at my desk for 8 hours and realize I haven't drank a drop of water today and I haven't had anything to eat, I mean, that's going to cause havoc on my body as well. And so I took all of those markers that I was tracking for myself, and then I used that information to create an ideal work week based on when my energy levels are peaked and I'm feeling the best. I used to think that, the 5 a.m. club way of working was the only way to do it. Well, it turns out that I'm a lot better at noon from, noon to 4 or 10 to 4, depending on the day. And then I also figured out about myself that I need to take Mondays off because we do a lot of family things during the weekend. And I'm exhausted come Monday, and my brain's not functioning properly. And I'm just physically exhausted. So I started putting Mondays in as a flex day, and then I put Fridays in as a flex day. And so I created this guide called the Time Mastery Method Chronic Illness Edition. And it's been so helpful to other people in the chronic illness community try to navigate how to put their schedule together in a way that really honors what they need. And so and I'd be happy to share a link with you guys so that your audience can grab it too. But it's
Oh my
been
God,
really
yes.
pivotal for a lot of people. It's a
Wow.
lot of information, and you really have to decide, do I want to do the work? Do I want to put in the effort to figure this out? And I think if you're going to, as a chronic illness warrior, if you're going to do anything for your business, do this one thing.
Wow. Oh, I love this.
So in addition to, doing all of that, how important would you say is it to also surround yourself with people who maybe not prioritize your issues, but definitely respect respect your chronic illness and respect the things that you have to go through to make sure that you're your best self.
Yeah. It is essential, absolutely essential. I did a training in the Chronic Success Society a couple of weeks ago talking about sharing your chronic illness with key players in your business, not only clients, but people that you collaborate with and that you work with on a regular basis, and even in just communications with potential clients. And it can be really scary to talk about it, but what's even scarier is going through it alone and not having somebody that understands what you're dealing with to empathize with you and provide the support you need. And I think one of the biggest fears that people have is this client is going to learn that I have a chronic illness and they're going to fire me. And so, sharing your chronic illness, yes, it's scary, but I have never had a single client come back and say, oh, I don't want to work with you anymore. If anything, that it helped them to open up and say, well, I'm also dealing with ADHD or undiagnosed chronic exhaustion. It opened up those conversations, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to respect that you were honest with them. If you come to them with a backup plan, it's even better, because then you're like, I have this, but look, this is what I put together so that we have this just in case. But then you're growing your community of people that can support you when you're having a really crappy time. And there's nothing more important, I feel like, as an entrepreneur with chronic illness than surrounding yourself with other people that get what it's like, that aren't going to beat you up about your chronic illness, that are going to, hold your hand on those tough days and let you know we're going to get through this together. And community is everything.
Oh, I love that. And I feel like as you were talking, I was also kind of thinking, if you were to tell a potential client or an existing client that you have a chronic illness, which could potentially impact your schedule or whatever, and they have a negative reaction, I mean, do you really want to work with that kind of person? Like, they're going to be the client from hell.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I said in the training. If you get that 1%er, that one person that's going to tell you, I'm have a negative reaction to that, they're not your person. They're not your ideal client, because if they're questioning your capabilities now, it's going to become a problem, and everything's going to lead back to your chronic illness, and everything is going to be blamed on that. And those are the kind of clients that we just don't need. Clients can be sometimes messy, and it's all about finding somebody that makes you feel good about what you're doing. and that understands that we all have challenges of some sort. Mine just happen to be physical. And sometimes that does impact my output. But at the end of the day, we have this backup plan. Here's how we're going to work through it. And, all I need is your support. And if they can't give you that, bye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Goodbye.
And it sounds like you're also making sure that you're working when you are at your peak level of energy. So it really shouldn't impact your ability to deliver, right?
Yeah.
You're not,
and most of the time it doesn't.
Right. You're intentionally not working at times and on days when your energy levels are going to be low, or like you said, your brain is not like completely on. Like a lot of people really should take the time to figure out what days and what times don't work for them. Because we can't all be on all the time. Like, it's just not realistic. I mean, at least for introverts. I don't know about extroverts.
I think it's really a great practice for everybody, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of times where we have a flare-up or we start experiencing symptoms, and it has nothing to do with our work. It has nothing to do with anything. The universe just isn't aligning in a way that our body agrees with. And, those things happen. And it's out of our control, and we can't control that. But, we just got to figure out how to move forward. And there's tons of things that you can do, depending on the severity of the flare-up, obviously. But there's a lot of things that you can do. I actually created a 45 things to do from bed guide that are very what we call low spoon activities. I don't know if you've heard of the spoon theory, but, everybody starts out with the same amount of spoons during the day. And for somebody that's chronically sick, taking a shower could take up half your spoons. And it just depends on, how you're feeling and where you're at physically and emotionally. So I just got off on a tangent there and totally lost my train of thought.
Oh my God. You know what? We love it. You're in good company. You're in good company.
Oh, that's so funny.
We go on tangent all day, every day. We love them.
It's great. You know what? Some of the best creativity comes out of tangents, I feel like. So
absolutely. We actually just had we had an episode with another guest recently where the entire episode was an unexpected tangent. Like, it had nothing to do with the topic we were going to talk about. And it was great. It was fun.
I love that so much.
We love tangents.
Tangents are awesome.
Perfect.
So I love that idea about the spoons. Is that something that is a known tool? Okay.
Yeah, and I can't remember her off the top of my head, her name, but years ago somebody came up with the spoon theory. And so as chronically sick people, we call ourselves spoonies.
I love that.
Kind of our nickname. But we all start out with a certain amount of spoons, and it just depends on where we're at physically and emotionally based on, what's going on at the time, how many spoons it takes to do these activities. And it's a great way to explain to people that don't have chronic illness what it's like energy-wise to be somebody that does have a chronic illness and has these physical limitations and energy limitations.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to know a little bit more about what a spoonie is. Because I have a friend, actually, Steph, Ashley Davis. She was a guest
she was on the podcast.
Shout out to Ashley Nicole. On her IG profile, she has spoonie there. So, my dumb ass is thinking it has something to do with food. And here is something totally different because she actually, again, I'm not gonna get into everything about her, but she also has a chronic illness. So it's good to actually be able to put two and two together because I was totally off base with my original thought. So I apologize.
And now you know what she's talking about.
Exactly. I apologize for profiling. Yes. Y'all, I should know better. But
yeah,
we should definitely connect you guys.
That'd be great. I always love to meet fellow spoonies. And, I was just talking with somebody about this last week. We're becoming a lot more loud and proud and out there with our chronic illness. And it wasn't until I started putting myself out there in the chronic illness space that I realized how many people are sharing their journey and their struggles and, just really providing great community for everybody to connect and really just feel like they're in a safe space. And that was really the premise behind the Chronic Success Society. I wanted to provide them a safe space for them to grow their business, because even though there's more of us that are loud and proud and out there about our chronic illness, that doesn't mean that we don't get hate online. And there's this gal, I cannot for the life of me, I have Monday brain, remember her Instagram handle, but she's a wheelchair user sometimes. So when you talk about people that might need a mobility aid one day and then next day they don't, it's called dynamic disability. It's where our disability varies depending on all kinds of factors, and it's very unique to each person's journey. And I see her get so much hate because one day she's using her wheelchair and she's carrying her baby on her lap and she needs it to shop and do all the things, and the next day she doesn't. And people with their little keyboard warrior strength are out there just giving her hell for it. And I'm like, people really don't understand. So the more of us that are loud and informative about what we experience, the more people that aren't chronically sick are going to realize that sometimes most of the time, most of us look completely normal from the outside, but we're dealing with our own internal battles, and we've got, physical issues, mental and emotional issues that, they don't see. And that can make it, especially again, back to being introverted, that can make it very scary for anybody. And then when you add introversion on top of that, it's like, oh, can I just go hide in my closet? It's nice and dark and quiet in there. And nobody is going to give me shit online.
Right. Wow, that's wild that people actually have the audacity to comment on what somebody needs to do to get through the day or the week or whatever. Like, why do you care?
Yeah.
Get a life.
Yeah, there's a follower. There's a content creator that I follow on TikTok. I believe she was in like a car accident and was kind of partially paralyzed. I think she's still a little bit paralyzed today, but she's been. Doctors told her she would never walk again. She's been working, and she's been documenting her journey from that to actually starting to regain function. Starting to regain function in her fingers and her hands. She still uses a wheelchair, but she's to a point now where she's able to actually, she went from being wheelchair bound to being able to stand for a little bit, to being able to being able to stand to being able to walk a little bit, and then being able to drive. And you would think that it's this great heartwarming story, but like you said, Rheanna, there's always that section of the internet that's like, wait a minute, you're not disabled, you're not this and that, because you're standing, and it's like you're just commenting on the 2 minutes that she gathered the strength to be able to stand up and walk.
She's so much stronger than any of those people.
Yeah, seriously. You don't see that it's actually taking everything in her to hold herself up. And she'd actually put videos showing her walking and falling because it's not just standing. You have to learn how to stand. You're learning how to walk again.
Right. Yeah.
And some troll, or some asshole, just seeing this minute and a half that she's able to stand and calling her, all sorts of frauds and whatnot. And you're right. It's disheartening, but she gives it back as much as she takes it. She don't take it. She'll give it right back to you. So she's
most of us are real good at being like, you know what, you're ridiculous and you sound ridiculous to everybody else that's commenting and watching this video. So right. It's hard. You can't and especially when you're so tired of talking about your chronic illness, the last thing that you want to do is every second of every day announce to whoever it is that you're surrounding yourself with, I'm in pain. Or I feel nauseous, because it's annoying to us to listen to ourselves. I can't imagine how it is from somebody that has an outside perspective looking in on what we're experiencing. And so, it's, and then you get online and you meet jerks like that guy, and we already have to be strong for ourselves, to fight for ourselves in medical scenarios with doctors and specialists, just to be seen and heard. And then we deal with our physical pain or whatever our physical and mental and emotional battles are. And then you share your journey hoping to reach other people that might be experiencing the same thing and to inspire and encourage others. And you get somebody that pops on and, goes off about you not being disabled. I mean, don't be surprised when you get not only your hand slapped, but you look like an idiot in front of everybody else online too. It's just crazy to me.
How do you?
What possesses people to like what? It's insane.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you have to deal with that.
How do you respond to nonsense like this?
I'm very similar to her in the way that I let them know the way they're behaving is awful. And I use it also as an opportunity to educate. And a lot of times you'll educate and people just double down. They're like, whatever. And they just keep on going because they started it. Why not, finish it? So, but every once in a while you meet somebody that's like, oh, I didn't see it that way. Or, oh, I didn't think of it that way. So, just trying to let them know your behavior is terrible and this is actually what's going on and, let them choose for themselves. And sometimes they surprise you.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great approach. Like you're kind of meeting them with compassion, and you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. And the ones who don't change their mind, who do double down, I mean, they weren't going to change their minds anyway. It had nothing to do with you. They're just having a bad day, and sadly for them, they're taking it out on people that they don't know. I love that approach.
That's definitely awesome. That is definitely the opposite of what I do. So kudos to you, because what I do is I invite them to what I call the block party, and what and the block party is I'm just gonna block you. There's no line, no wait, free entry all day long.
All day long. I love that.
Open 20.
I've had a few of those.
24/7 24/7 block party. Like I'm not going back and forth with anybody. I am the type of person that I do want to take the time, or rather, typically my first thought is to try to educate some people. But yeah, I'm not taking a chance online with going back and forth. Like if it's a one-on-one and someone in person, okay, but I'm just not taking that chance. And as my community has grown, I've become, I guess, more protective of them. So I'm just limiting them as a whole because, again, I don't get hate on the type of thing that you get hit on. Typically for me, it's people saying that all introverts are autistic, all introverts are, all introverts are like idiots.
Where's the science to back this up? Exactly. I mean, people are just crazy in their claims.
Yeah, so and it's like, all introverts have ADHD, and again, there are some parallels, but just generalizing and putting everybody into this group, particularly when Google is free, is just it's just a no. So whenever I get those, it's just automatic entry into the block party. Have fun.
One-way ticket.
But hey, no line, no wait.
And actually, that's the low spoon way to handle it. When you have low spoons, just get rid of them.
Yeah.
And it really depends on, I mean, there's people that comment just absolutely atrocious things, and I will bring out the maybe not so nice side of me and let them have it and then block them.
That's always fun. Kind of like tell them exactly what you think, and then be like, you know what? You don't even get a chance to respond. Bye. Yeah.
It's not the most mature way to handle things.
No,
but sometimes I feel like they need to be educated and then blocked.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they're coming at me from a troll account with no profile picture, I'm not even gonna waste my time.
Yeah.
But like if you're saying it and you've got your face on your profile, maybe I'll educate you.
Yeah.
Wow. What's it called?
It's called a tangent.
Wow, I lost my train of thought.
It's called a tangent.
I lost my train of what?
It's called a tangent. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah. What's called a
tangent? How you do?
True. I think I'm getting Monday brain now. I mean, I've had it since I woke up. It is. So I'm curious, what is like probably one of the biggest, what is your favorite thing that you've done for yourself that has completely changed like the trajectory of your entrepreneurial journey? Like what has, like if you had to pick one thing to highlight that like everybody should do other than the time thing that you shared, what would it be?
I think it's two parts. One is to learn more self-compassion, and the second thing is to take that self-compassion into where'd those balloons come from? It's a party. Apparently, this video chat liked what I was saying. That is so funny.
For the audio audience.
How did you do that?
I have no idea. Must have had something to do with me putting my fingers up, maybe. I'm a very handsy person when I talk. But the first thing is to practice self-compassion and to take that self-compassion, and every single time that I compare myself to somebody that isn't chronically sick and posting 3 times a day on social media and making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, is to take that self-compassion and realize that I'm doing my business in a way that honors my physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And I can't ask for any more of myself.
Oh, I love that. So what does self-compassion look like? Like, how do you go about, if you've never practiced self-compassion, how do you start?
I do a couple of things. One is, as spoonies, we can very often focus on the negative things that are happening in our lives and within our bodies. And so one of my favorite first things to do is to scan down my body and think everything that doesn't hurt. Some days it's just my eyelashes, and I got to be okay with that. So that's a great way for me to kind of practice self-compassion, but also sitting down and actually journaling what my wins are for the week. Because a lot of times I get very hard on myself if I wasn't feeling good this week, so I wasn't able to accomplish a lot. So writing down the things that I did accomplish and then celebrating every single one of them, because I was able to accomplish this list of things does not negate the fact, or, the fact that I wasn't able to accomplish this list of things does not negate the fact that I was able to accomplish these things. And just recognizing that I'm doing what I can with what I have available to me, what tools and resources and physical capabilities that I have in that moment and for that day and for that week. And, just being okay with moving at a different pace than everybody else. Entrepreneurship is supposed to be business on our terms, how we want it, how it feels good to us. And that looks different for everybody. And so just, making sure that I'm not comparing myself to somebody that doesn't have the same kind of spoons that I do.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
And not cereal spoons or ice cream spoons.
I love that you clarify that.
Ice cream spoons.
That's definitely not. In my world, no way. I love ice cream spoons.
So I mean,
my body, not so much.
Are there different types of spoons? Like, what are the types of spoons are there?
So really, the spoon theory is just like a spoon is a symbolism of a certain amount of energy. So not different types of spoons, but more the quantity and how many you have. And then each activity is assigned a certain amount of spoons. And so if I'm having a low spoon day, that means that it's taking more spoons to accomplish something that might take less spoons on a day that I'm feeling better.
Okay.
If that helps.
Makes sense.
That makes sense. Wow. So do you have low spoon days or like weeks or hours? Like, how does it work exactly?
Sometimes it's, a low spoon half a day. Sometimes it's a full day. If I'm ignoring what my body needs, those low spoon days can very easily and quickly turn into low spoon weeks or months. And, it just depends on a wild amount of different factors of, what you ate and what you did the day before. And one thing that we're really bad at, and this is another tangent that I go off on often, is that we will have a good spoon day and we're like, oh, I've got all the spoons today. I'm going to use them all to clean the house and finish that guide that I was working on and do 5 Zoom calls and go for a walk and play with the dogs and cook dinner and meal plan for the next 9 years or whatever that looks like. We do 9 bazillion things. And then the next day we have no spoons. And it's
Right.
very easy to fall in that trap of, oh, I feel good today. I should do twice as much. And that's another thing that I like to teach in the Chronic Success Society. Don't go balls to the walls on good spoon days, because that's going to set you up for failure in the days moving forward.
So on a high spoon day, would you say just do your best, like what you were gonna do anyway,
Yep.
as
And
opposed to
don't
doing
add
more?
any more. Don't push it.
Wow. And what about, let's say you have a set amount of things that you need to accomplish within a week. I mean, if you end up having 4 low spoon days in a row, how do you like make up for lost time?
Yeah. And this is where a lot of the anxiety comes in. When you're getting towards the end of the week and you've got all these things that just keep piling up because you haven't been feeling good. The first thing is to stop and realize that you're doing the best you can with what you have. The second thing is to figure out how you can fit those things into your upcoming schedule in a way that's not going to put a lot of strain on what could be an already busy day or a somewhat full day. And we never want to have a super full day, because when you talk about creating a schedule for yourself that works for you as a chronically sick entrepreneur, you need a lot of padding in there. You need time for self-care. If you're like me, you actually have to put on your calendar, get off your butt and go drink water. Get off your butt and go eat, like things like that. And so you're putting those other things into your schedule. And so when you are accumulating tasks and activities that are for your business because you're not feeling well for the week, sometimes it makes more sense to divide those up into over several days instead of just trying to cram it into your water breaks and maybe your food breaks or maybe your self-care time in your schedule. Because when you look at creating your schedule, the first thing that goes on your calendar besides healthcare appointments is self-care before any business activities. And then you schedule around that for meetings or things that you can't really avoid during on a certain day for a certain time, things that are pre-scheduled in advance. And then you look at plugging in the different things that you have for the week. And so, breaking it up so that way it fits over several days, there's nothing wrong with that. Just making sure that you're not cramming it over you time and the time that you put in your schedule on purpose to take care of yourself, because your body needs that.
I love that. I think that's so helpful, and I love that you like prioritize your self-care and your health first,
Always.
and then everything else gets built into that. And I think so many people, not like just in general, tend to figure out everything they need to get accomplished and then try to like cram self-care in between the little phases. And I
Yeah.
think we can all learn from that, because like I'm guilty of that for sure. There are weeks, months, maybe not that long, but there are times when I go a long time without any self-care, because we're trained as a society to force ourselves to check off as much as possible. So
Yeah.
I love that
You
you kind
can't,
of reversed it.
and you really can't serve your audience if you're not the best version of yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
you can serve them, but in a way that's going to be impactful and meaningful to not only their life, but yours. You have to be the best version of yourself. And if you're constantly putting yourself last, and then you add chronic illness on top of that, I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. And you said, like before you discovered all these things, before you discovered that you needed to run your business a different way, like you were trying to operate like the rest of the world. So
Oh, and then
how
some.
how quickly were you like finding that you were burned out and running out of spoons?
Well, going back to my first entrepreneurial venture, when I after I first left my job, I took about 6 to 9, I think it was closer to 9 months to just heal, get IV injections, work with doctors to try to figure out how to get myself back to an optimal level. And then I'm a very creative person at heart, and I started making, those rustic wood signs that have like sayings on them.
Love.
I was
Yeah.
bored at home, and so we were in the process of buying a house, and I made some signs, and my husband's like, "Oh, well, why don't you put this on Facebook Marketplace and see if anybody wants to buy it?" And I sold 20.
Nice.
I
Wow.
didn't even have 20. I had one, and I sold 20 in the first week. And when I talked about the tennis theory earlier about how when I dive into something, I buy the outfit, and business is no different. So the next thing you know, I had a logo and a website, and I was creating custom signs for people, and that turned into sign making workshops. And then I accumulated wholesale accounts, and my signs were in
Wow.
shops, and it went from 0 to 60. It was super successful. It was not sustainable. It was physically exhausting. And I contracted out all the sanding and cutting of my wood to a retired cabinet maker, and I hired an assistant to help me with the rest of it, and it still was too much. And that business lasted less than a year. And
Oh,
so
wow.
and it was great. I ended up having to cancel 14 workshops when I closed down because
Oh my God.
I couldn't keep up, and I had to refund all those people, and it was just a very wild,
Oh
hard
God.
time. So when I went into the virtual unicorn, which was the last iteration of my business, I knew it needed to look different. I just didn't know how. And so it was just a lot of trial and error. And the same with the sign business. I just went from 0 to 60 and had a full client roster. And I'm like, ugh, I did it again. I had managed to do it again. Now I'm overwhelmed and burnt out and stuck in a constant state of flare-ups. My body hates me. I'm in so much pain all the time, and I'm so sick. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not shutting this business down. I absolutely refuse. So I scaled down, to a couple of clients, and then just really researched and trial and errored my way through figuring out how to make it work. And the first thing, like I talked about earlier, was stop comparing myself to other people that aren't chronically sick. That was the hardest,
Yeah.
really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's so difficult, and I can't even imagine, like, because there's all these people posting about like anybody can do it. Like it's like, well, am I nobody? Like who am I?
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
that's tough. Yeah, good for you. And I mean, you're
Thank you.
serving such, yeah, I mean, you're serving such an important group of people. And I know that a lot of people in our community alone are going to benefit from listening to this conversation and hearing from you. I admire you for putting yourself out there, but not only doing that, but also helping people that struggle with similar things. That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. It's very kind of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just been such an awesome conversation. Jay, do you
Yeah,
have
and
any?
so fun.
Yeah, we went on lots of
Yes,
tangents.
I learned what a
Yeah.
spoonie actually is, so I feel good.
Yay. I
Before
love
we
that.
let you go, do you have any like parting thoughts or words or wisdom for our community? And then we'll let you plug whatever you've got going on too.
Yeah. I think if you are an entrepreneur that struggles with chronic illness, the best thing that you can do for your business is to find community and people that you can hold hands with, and just share your struggles with, and kind of walk this roller coaster, because entrepreneurship is lonely enough as it is. And then when you're an introvert and then you add chronic illness on top of that, all of these different factors just make it that much more isolating. So I just want to encourage you to find your community, and that's really what we provide at the Chronic Success Society, is not only tools and resources to help you grow your business, but people to hold hands with and to shout into the void with and to commiserate with about all of the struggles that we have on our entrepreneurial journey as chronic illness warriors.
Awesome.
I love that. Wow. Yeah, definitely hit up Rheanna. I think that what you offer is amazing. I keep saying it, but I'm like a broken record. But I
Thank
really,
you.
truly think that everybody who struggles with chronic illness and just people in general can really benefit from everything that you're sharing, especially introverts who need to manage our energy because we have less of it than the average person. Um,
Yeah,
so I think thank you so much. I learned a lot. Um,
I'm so glad.
where, yeah. So where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at the Chronic CEO. They can find the Chronic Success Society at www.chronicsuccesssociety.com. And for the Stay Introverted podcast members or your listeners, we can do 50% off the premium membership for a month so they can try it out. Come do networking with us
All right, look at that.
Oh,
and join all. Yeah, it's great. And
we love it.
Hey.
I'll provide you guys with a code that you can share as well. But we have guest speakers. We have the free community, which has guest speakers, all kinds of free tools and resources. And then we have premium, and that includes networking and some other things. And then we have the VIP, which gives people an opportunity to grow their business and promote their business a little bit more. So we've got something for everybody. And it's just a great place to be when you're trying to grow your business and still manage your chronic illness at the same time.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God, what awesome resources. We got our first like special discount. Like,
Awesome.
yay.
Appreciate it.
I love it.
I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so fun. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. This was the Stay Introverted podcast. If you loved this episode, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a review. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. And on YouTube.
We are
We're
on
on there
YouTube.
now. Yeah, finally. And be sure to stay tuned for another episode next Tuesday.
All right, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.